Today, we're going to demystify a tool that has quite literally stitched our world together, the sewing machine. Whether you're a total beginner or you're just curious about how this thing actually works, we're going to break it all down and get you ready to make your very first stitch. I love this quote from designer Jessie Randall. It just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? For so many people, a sewing machine is way more than just metal and gears. It becomes this creative partner, a problem solver, almost like part of the family. It's a tool that lets you build, mend, and just create. But that brings us to the big question, right? It really seems like magic. How does this machine take one thread from the top and another thread from the bottom and somehow lock them together perfectly in the middle of the fabric? Well, it's not magic, it's pure mechanical genius. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack. Okay, first things first. Before we can make a stitch, we need to get acquainted with the machine itself. Let's meet the key players that make all the magic happen. So, a modern sewing machine can have over 50 different parts, which I know sounds totally overwhelming. But here's the good news. You really only need to know about 5 of them to understand what's going on and to get started. So let's just focus on those. First up, the absolute star of the show, the needle. Its job is actually pretty simple, but it's beyond crucial. It pierces the fabric, and its main mission is to carry that top thread down to meet its partner, which is waiting just below. Next up, we have the presser foot. The best way to think about this is like a gentle, guiding hand. It rests on top of your fabric, holding it nice and flat and secure so that you can get a really straight, even stitch. So if the presser foot is holding the fabric down, what's moving it forward? Well, that's the job of the feed dog. You can see its tiny little metal teeth right here. They pop up from below, they grip the fabric, and they pull it along with every single stitch. It's basically like a tiny little conveyor belt. And what about that mysterious second thread? Where does it come from? Well, it comes from the bobbin. It's this small spool of thread that lives in a little compartment right underneath the needle. This is the secret partner that completes the stitch from below. And finally, we have the balance wheel. This big knob on the side of the machine is kind of like your manual override. You can turn it towards you to move the needle up and down, one stitch at a time. It gives you this amazing, precise control right when you need it. Okay, so now that we know the key parts, it's time to tackle the single most important skill you'll need, threading the machine. I know it can seem intimidating, but really, it's just a 2-part secret. See, the whole secret to a sewing machine stitch is that it's not made of one thread, but 2. You've got the upper thread, which travels all the way from that big spool at the top, and then you've got the lower thread coming from that little bobbin down below. A stitch can only happen when those 2 threads meet and lock together. So first, let's get that lower thread ready, and that means winding the bobbin. You'll just take the thread from your main spool, guide it through a little tension disc, wrap it around an empty bobbin a few times, and then pop it on the bobbin winder. The machine does all the hard work filling it up nice and neat for you. All right, now for part 2, the upper thread's big journey. The great thing is, most machines have little numbers or arrows printed on them to guide you. You'll bring the thread from the spool, down through the tension area, up through that little moving arm, that's called the take-up lever, and then all the way back down to the eye of the needle. And here is the moment of magic. Once the machine is all threaded, you hold that top thread, turn the balance wheel to send the needle down, and when it comes back up, it brings a loop of the bobbin thread with it. You just pull that loop, and just like that, you have both threads on top, totally ready to sew. So, you've learned the parts, you've threaded the machine, but what's the actual goal here? What does a good stitch even look like? Let's take a look. This is what you're aiming for. A perfect stitch is nice and uniform, it's even, and it forms a continuous, straight line. But the real test? It should look exactly the same on the top of the fabric as it does on the bottom. When you see that, you know your tension is absolutely perfect. And finally, let's talk about keeping your new creative partner in tip-top shape, because trust me, a little bit of care goes a very, very long way. It's really simple stuff. Keep it clean, just wipe it down. Give the moving parts a little oil about once a week to keep them running smoothly, and when you're done, always, always pop on a machine cover. Dust is the absolute enemy of a happy sewing machine. So we've walked through all the parts and the whole process, and that's your foundation. But the real skill, the confidence, and honestly, all the fun, that comes from just one thing: practice.
You now understand the mechanics behind turning two simple threads into a strong, beautiful seam. The machine isn't a mystery anymore. It's a tool, and it's just waiting for you. So the only question left is, what will you create?